Hey everyone, it is October 10th, Saturday, 2020, and why that day is of significance is because it's World Mental Health Day. Jesse, what's happening, brother?
Not much, man. Just here in lovely Waterloo, Iowa, and the Courtyard Marriott, and we just finished a fantastic week, and it is World Mental Health Day. It
Yeah,
certainly is.
yeah, so super excited. Obviously, this is not our typical area. The rooms themselves don't have great Wi-Fi. It's not pulling enough, so we're down here spread out in the lobby of this great hotel, and it is a great hotel. We've been
It
very
is.
fortunate because when we leave tomorrow morning, heading a little south to Atumwa, it's a little different. So what does that mean? That means next Saturday's show is going to be even a little more wonky. I don't know what it's going to look like, but hopefully we can still do it. Anyway,
I,
um,
I predict we're going to do it from a Starbucks in Des Moines. That's what I predict.
that's possible.
Yeah.
It's very possible. So anyway, yeah, World Mental Health Day, and what that means to me is it's an opportunity, I think, just to have discussions. If you opened up social media at all, you have seen the memes and the posts and the all the things, and I find it fascinating. I mean, I think it's great that there's a day for this. I just find it also a little sad that tomorrow you'll no longer see any of those posts, messages, encouraging words, and so it kind of is too short lived. And I think people their suffering lasts much longer than one day of encouragement. And so I think it really is a big part of what you and I do, Jesse, with trying to overcome the stigma. And we try and be living demonstrations and examples and representations of what people are talking about and posting about today. So anyway, it's exciting that it's at least a conversation that's had for sure.
Yeah, and it is important today to enough to have its own day, right? But you're right, and luckily, the work we do and the people that we're aligned with know that this isn't a one day thing. I mean, it's kind of the whole nature of our work, and it brings it to point because I mean, this week we just finished a training in here in Iowa, Waterloo, or Waterloo, Iowa, but out in Raymond is where the this training facility was at for Blackhawk County, and we had various law enforcement officers from different agencies in this room, and it was pretty tremendous because it was very obvious with this group that on Monday they didn't want to be there. They didn't like assigned seating. They didn't like anything of anything, and they came in there with this perspective. And then at the end of the week, I mean, by midweek, we were getting pulled aside, and officers with tears in their eyes. We've been heartfelt emails in the middle of the night, and Friday with gifts. And the thing that stood out for me is um, quite a few of them spoke of a particular lieutenant that took his own life in 2014, and it's a small agency, and you could tell how beloved this lieutenant was and how it affected them. And while each of them gave me a story or a piece of their story or how it affected them or what they were going through, they all related to the training and they were all suffering. And I think it was your courses, Joe, particularly that were like pretty affecting to them. Like I think mine was highlighting the problem and like acknowledging their own symptoms, and then you were talking about like um, ways that you can just better your life, and they were so grateful. So that challenge coin that they gave me for the LT, I posted it on our social media, was pretty impactful. And every week we finish, something awesome happens. There's an awesome experience, but this one, that's what resonated with me.
Yeah, and our local NAMI San Antonio, and for those that aren't familiar with NAMI, I imagine that's probably nobody that follows us, but the National Alliance on Mental Illness, they're doing a virtual walk because of all the things. And so, um, post about it, tweet about it, hashtag it. But also, I know I saw when I looked on there earlier, they were short of their fundraising goal. And I know that they're opening it or keeping it open through December, I believe. But it's just so hard with everything being virtual and people not being able to like socially gather. to do these fundraisers and raise the money that they need. So anyway, for those of you that Jesse, we already blew our numbers out of the water. Jesse predicted 2, I predicted 5. We're sitting at 13 right now, man. So
that is incredibly surprising.
yeah.
I'm surprised by that. No, so I remember the Nami walk, the last one I was involved in with the unit, and it's even in the film, right? And it was such a cool thing to bring people together and the awareness and all the things, all the hoopla. It's really tough that we just can't seem to get back there, and who knows when that's going to be. So um, we're all doing the next best thing. Whatever, when you have events, we've got to do the next best thing because the mission can't stop. You know, the work can't stop. We can't stop. So definitely get involved. Find out what you can donate, how you can donate, and get involved because I don't think there's any organization in the United States, quite possibly the world, that does more to battle stigma than the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And they're doing good stuff out there. So please do.
Yeah, and they're a huge part of our trainings wherever we go to, unless obviously like when we went to Shreveport, they didn't have a local affiliate, and so but here it's a big part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, so anyway, it's just one of those incredible partnerships that I think is important to law enforcement, but also for anyone in the community to know who they are. So anyway, thank you, Susan Caballero, for being here. Joel Mendez, my dude, 7 Man Productions is here. Thank you, man. Oh yeah, Jesse, we messed up. For those of you that don't know, if you're new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube. Also, if you don't know who we are, we run this company here, there, SolutionPoint Plus, co-founders, CEO, Jesse's the president. And anyway, we are a national training and consulting firm specializing in all things mental health, employee wellness, de-escalation, crisis intervention. And we are in Iowa right now. Like we said, we're going to be here next week as well, going down to Ottumwa to do another group of officers. What I found really cool about this week, Jesse, was I think we had 6 different police agencies represented.
Yeah.
We had 25 students, but 6 different agencies. And I'm going to try and go off memory, but I know we had Waterloo PD, we had Cedar Falls PD, we had Black Hawk County Sheriff's Office, we had Cerro Gordo County Sheriff's Office, we had Ankeny PD, we had University of Northern Iowa Police Department. I think that's it.
Me too. Yeah, I think you're right.
So 6 agencies in one of our classes, which is pretty cool, which is a testament to County Social Services and Karn Dowell, who's the COO of that organization right now that brought us out here. So anyway, now we're shifting, getting ready to go down to the South Central Behavioral Health region with Jennifer Robbins and work with those I think I saw 4 on the roster. 4 different agencies are going to be in next week's class too. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, probably. That's particularly cool, right? That there was such a engagement from different officers or different agencies, and they're all like in this group and from there they work together. But I think probably the coolest thing was for me. So we came here in 2017, 2018 ish, out here when we started barely getting our foot on the water in the state, and I gotta say that things were looking pretty bleak. Resource wide, collaboration wide, just perspective wise, all these things were just not there. And we were hearing that big things were coming and that legislation was passing. And I remember being in the hotel room and actually watching like historic legislation being signed. And here we are 2 years later, and the conditions have improved dramatically. And now Iowa went from being one of the worst states for mental health to one of the better ones. And we're able to kind of thread the needle and put these things together and sew things together pretty well. And then you just see officer perspectives changing also. So it's got to be pretty cool. Like it's hard to believe that we've been in business this long, and now we're seeing like the fruits of labor and the fruits of policy, everything kind of coming together. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that we appear to be a part of the conversation when they're
Yeah.
talking about growth and change and improvement and expanding services and all that. Like when we come back in December, we're going to be out in like Fort Dodge, which I hear is a pretty desolate area. And so, but I think, it's one of those things where, yeah, I mean, sure, it would be nice if all of our clients were in Malibu and San Diego and Hawaii and Puerto Rico and Jamaica and Aruba and Bahama and come on, pretty mama. You know what I'm saying? But here we are in the ruralest of rural. Not right now, actually, but we will be in 2 weeks. So anyway, but it's great because again, we're in the business of people, and so we go wherever they are. But Jesse, give me just off script. What stood out most to you from this week?
What stood out most to me this week? I there's always the same commonality, right? About how, and it amazes me, right? Because we've been here a few times, and still it still remains the same. People go to this training kicking and screaming because we as a law enforcement culture don't like change, and we also don't like anyone, I guess, dictating what we do right and wrong, because it automatically comes off that we're wrong, right? So if you're telling me I need to do something different, you're telling me I'm screwed up. I don't like that, and it's always assumed that because we're never, the law enforcement agency isn't the client, we're always the client of somebody else, and they're the end user, which means right, social service pays for it, and we end up showing it. I think they have this perspective just totally against us. And we did have insider information that this group was particularly not happy about coming to this training,
So
and it was not even hidden. They weren't holding it back. Um, but just like always, by Monday's kind of we're getting there. Tuesday we're having some conversation, and by Wednesday afternoon, something's happened. Thursday, there's a camaraderie and a bond there, and by Friday they don't want us to leave. And it's and that's what I felt about this one. But what stood out to me the most was every place has a specific need. Like they all need the training, but the need is different based on who we are, who the people are, where they're at. And for this one, I think a lot of this was, and this is a part that they always miss, is they go in thinking that this is about, being kinder and gentler to the public. And while there is truth to that, how we treat people matters, how we talk matters. But I think I always love how often they are surprised and kind of floored with how much we open their mind and teach them to look inward. And they find out that this is really about them and that we care about them. And that's always the best part for me. Oh, I didn't do it.
yeah, there's going to be a little chair mate that's happening right now, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so now that's cool, and I'll tell you that for me, there was a couple things that stood out, but when one of the officers came up to me, and it was right after the showing of the movie, actually, and he walked up to me very like just matter of fact, and I'm sitting at the back table where we sit, and he walks up and he's got like misty eyed. I mean, he's not crying, but he's fighting it, and just real like flat affect, just walks up and says, Joe, as first responders, as alphas, we have a fence up around us. And you just knock mine down. And then just walks off and goes and sits in his seat. And I was like, okay, so we're not going to have a conversation. You just want to let me know, which is a great first step. I thought it was really rewarding that, again, there was another comment made that our vulnerability, the fact that Jesse and I were being authentic and transparent and willing to show our vulnerability, that it made other people want to express themselves. And and again, we get the contagion effect because we've been doing this, and it's like, while it feels really really good every single time, and I don't think it'll ever actually go away. I don't think we're like surprised anymore by it. You know, it's always in like one form of fashion of just gratitude, excitement, joy, appreciation, whatever it is. But those one-off stories always kind of like stand out of like, man, what we're doing actually does make an impact. And it just reaffirms, it's like I told the class, you know, it really does just validate to us that we know we're in the light that we're supposed to be in. And so, you know, sky's the limit from here, because when you can find like your purpose and what you're supposed to do, then, you know, I think you really do become unstoppable.
Yeah, and there was several moments like that where several people told us things. I mean, oh, Mike Davis, how's it going, bud? I always joke two things cops don't like: they don't like change, and they don't like the way things are. That is very, very true. Um, that's an excellent point. There's so much truth to that. But I mean, on Wednesday, he got pulled aside, and he was tears in his eyes. Hello, Priscilla. He's got tears in his eyes, and he starts telling me about the last moment he had, or the last time he saw this lieutenant. And then he was relating a lot of things that we were telling people. Like you talk about the flag that gets raised and it's missed and it goes raised down. I talked about distortion of blame, and he was putting all these things together, and he had like this aha moment. And he said he admitted he wanted to engage in therapy. Just that email we got from an officer in the middle of the night, just saying how he was starting to realize a bunch about himself when all these things had come up. Um, so Joe's very good at reading people and recognizing what's going on with them, and he is. We both know that there's power in story, and I'll always say it, right. There's other CIT programs out there. There's other people that teach this, but if you just go and talk about the material, I mean, there's value in that. Information matters, but we are about behavioral change, and Joe believes, and I believe, in cultural change of an organization from the individual officer out, like sprouting, and that'll only affect change if you have buy-in. And we use vulnerability, we use personal story to contextualize the material, to contextualize the information that we're giving them. And it's every week. It's really cool to see that it happens. And I gotta say, Joy, I think, I don't want to sound like bullshit or whatever, but I feel like our confidence is at an all-time high, because we've done it so much, and our experience is there, and we're like in our groove right now. And I love making new friends, man. These officers become our friends for life, man.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that there's parts of this that are just autopilot now at this point. You know, I mean, it's
Yeah,
like because again, especially when we come to a place that we already have the relationships developed with the stakeholders. You know, it's just a matter of making a phone call and saying, "Hey, we're coming back. These are the dates. Can you help us fill this with speakers?" And then there's like a level of excitement that comes. The officers are always the ones that are like, you know, who's going to get put in the can to decide who has to go and who doesn't. And we've heard some stories about people like really being vocal about not wanting to show up, or being frustrated with the fact that they were being told they had to come. Um, but again, I think it's the contagion effect kicks in when they when they we heard this yesterday too, from one of the officers, that the role play portion like scares the hell out of people. They just do not want to do
I was
role
just thinking.
plays.
I was gonna have you bring it up, but yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
don't want to do any role plays, and it's like terrifying to them. And yet it's every time on the critiques we'll get multiple that say we wish they were longer. But again, that's part of, you know, Jesse and I have a very unique ability to marry our lived experience with our learned experiences, and then turn those into what we believe is like our niche, which is like an incredible delivery of a service. Of, again, there's nothing unique about the service itself, but it's the delivery of it and the way we do it, and then also the coaching that we provide through the role plays, and the way we enable them and lift them up and encourage them and inspire them. And so it's just, you know, it's one of those great things. But yeah, there's a lot that that stood out to me.
Yeah, even one of the officers who was like was not excited about role plays, they were like against it, was saying that it was probably the most important aspect of the training, and that our role play set us apart from any other training we ever had. Andres, man, thanks for always backing us and being around. Um, I'm glad that these stories are hitting people, and I mean, just for us, man, I don't think there's anything more rewarding for us. Like you're feeling goosebumps, man, sitting down with this officer, and he like, yeah, the guilt he's living with, because he feels like he should have known or could have missed a sign, and there's no way. I mean, and these happen everywhere we go. But I appreciate you watching, man, always supporting us. But yeah, so she was saying that the role plays were probably what made it most significant in the training. So I thought that was especially cool. And then uh, another cool part is, um, we start seeing them work, and we're like coaching them through, and you're like, everyone's starting to progress, and you'll have one or two that are so close-minded and they're so resistant to change, but by Friday they'll knock it out of the park, and even their own peers are like high-fiving them and excited, right? So, but yeah, man, um
Well, it becomes
it
like
was
a
a good week.
community thing, where they
Yeah,
start
right.
rallying for each other, and
Yeah,
because they're all
yeah.
privy to the same feedback we give all week. So, and they
Mhm.
stay in their same groups. And so that camaraderie is built up amongst different agencies. And so, I don't know, it's a,
Yeah,
it's just great to be a part of it all. So
yeah.
anyway, I feel like we quickly got away from the fact that it's World Mental Health Day. So, um, I would love for you just to spend a moment, and we're intentionally keeping this one short just because, again, it's midday Saturday. We still have a lot of prep to do for next week. But anyway, when it comes to World Mental Health, we talked briefly about the fact that it's got a day, and that's great, but it needs more. But um, like you specifically, Jess, like what do you think is important regarding like mental health day, or like what do you think people should um, like consider or do or whatever? Like what bold action could someone take because it's mental health day?
You know, did you post that?
No, I don't know who's
So the only person that could have was Jess. She's the only
okay.
other person with the X's that could have done it. So way to go, Jess. Thank you. Um, so thank you for this. Whether you're an officer, responder, parent, spouse, or human,
Hopefully it's Jess, or we got hacked.
right? We're hacked, right? We're hacked by somebody who gets us, right? But yeah, she's the only other person. Um, Either that or I gave Zach access. Yeah. Oops, it was me. So it was Jess.
I guess she still hasn't changed the name.
Whoever
Let's
whoever me is. Okay.
let's just
Uh,
assume, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I guess so.
Still haven't switched accounts.
Where am I going with this? World Mental Health Day. Probably the most. I gotta say, I know it's almost redundant, but I think the most important topic is addressing stigma. And for me, that's as when in law enforcement and working threats and all the things we do, that's a very very complex thing. But on its face, what we want to say is like we need to know that one of the biggest barriers to like people being open, people wanting to get help, people connecting is fear. Fear is a huge barrier to all the things that we are striving for in this organization. And if there's anything that we are doing, like, and it happens indirectly the entire time, is we're breaking all these barriers. We're talking about vulnerability and keeping things real and telling stories. So for me, I think the call to action I have is for everyone to educate themselves, right? Find the courage to look inward, to share your stories. And everyone's so afraid of how they're going to be looked at or judged. Um, everyone's thinks it's silly to be vulnerable or to hear, like, to be. I mean, look at us, Joe. Like, we used to be cops, right? Marines, like men, fathers, husbands who are willing to be vulnerable. And the reason we do that is because we're trying to break down these walls that are all surrounding this concept of stigma. And all stigma is this feeling of shame and fear associated with the topic. Um, and it leads to almost like you know, a discriminatory factor. So I think for me, that's probably the biggest thing. And it was my barrier to getting help for so long, early on, because I thought we were supposed to be a certain way and be tough and all these things, and culturally and where being a Marine, where we came from, being Mexican American, all these things. So for me, that's the biggest thing. And I have a lot of stories to tell, and uh, I think it matters to share them.
Right. And so I don't think there's anything cliche about the stigma portion, because I think until it's obsolete, I think it's something that has to be at the forefront, because we know that it's kind of like the VA operates, right? Like if you have post traumatic stress disorder, almost anything you have after that is just going to go as a cluster under the umbrella of
Yeah.
post traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
And so, excuse me. And so when it comes to stigma, that's the main umbrella, but everything underneath that is fear, worry, shame, guilt, frustration, unknown, uncertainty. There's a lot of things that fall under that umbrella of stigma. And so I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think, but I also think that as far as like actionable steps or ways to like address it, is an individual responsibility that has a profound ripple effect, right? And so, like you said, you have stories, I have story. Like my whole wellness class is built around my story. Between ACEs and my wellness class, like people really get a deep, profound look into who I am, but it's overwhelming for me of what happens when they get those two in combination. And so, because of the feedback, and again, I think it just allows people to realize, like, oh wow, like Joe's had a pretty rough life. He's made some terrible choices as an adult, and yet here he is in front of us as the one standing up, addressing us while we're sitting down learning. And I think it just like sparks hope. And so for me, like that's how we're going to tackle the stigma. That's how we're going to overcome the stigma, is by having individual champions that maybe wouldn't necessarily seem otherwise like they would be the likely one, like to the points you made about being men and being former, combat decorated Marines and being cops in big cities. And all of those things, I think, are what challenge the status quo of two things. One, mental illness does not discriminate, but two is that, like, regardless of like where you are right now or where you've come from, as soon as you're willing to like stand in your truth and like stand in your light and then share it to other people, some pretty powerful experiences can happen out of that. And so anyway, I think for me, that's what it is. It's like, stigma is the biggest issue, but beyond that is, okay, so now what? I think if we can get people to be willing to be honest with themselves, to say like, yeah, my life wasn't perfect, and I, as an adult with free choice and free will, I've made terrible choices, and I've put myself in some pretty terrible predicaments, and I've learned how to fail forward. Like I've learned how to grow from all my pain points. And so, yeah, I think, what we're doing, Jesse, I think is not lost on people. And so I'm just super excited that I get to do it with you, because I don't feel like I would be as successful or as happy if I were doing this with anyone else. So anyway, I just want to express that to you as well.
I appreciate that, brother, and I feel the same. I think you would be successful, but I do appreciate it, and thank you, Emily, for saying that, and we hope that they do. And it's so funny you say that, because it's the same with mine. I think between those two classes you mentioned, between PTSD and my substance use class, between those four, like they get a upfront insight to who you are, and like you just see their. I think one person mentioned it's really hard to get anybody, especially cops, to listen to anybody for like a whole week, and you guys had us the entire time. But we're not there to like shock and awe, but we just want them to know like we know a little bit about this, right? And this is real. And
Yeah.
if I can talk about me, and that's why I love us, like in general, like what we do, because I find there are people out there that want to talk about this subject and claim to be able to like affect people's lives, but they will come from a place where they project their life as perfect. And I don't know how effective that is. Authenticity goes a long way. And if there's anybody that knows how to smell BS, it's cops and first responders, right? So vulnerability, authenticity, and just um, it goes a long way with people. And if you're going to have behavioral change, they have to trust the people that are delivering this message. And we work really hard at getting that trust.
Awesome. Cool, man. All right. Well, so we're just at 30, which is great. And so again, just to let you all know, as far as tomorrow goes, we're leaving Waterloo, heading to Des Moines. We're going to return our rental car, pick up another rental car, and then after that, we're going to meet Jessica's best friend
Oh, that's right. Pork chops.
and one of my like most amazing favorite peoples in Hannah. And we're going to go meet at some place called Claxons. And we're going to have some big old fat pork booty,
Pork
pork chop.
chops.
And then after lunch, we're going to go to Atumwa, check into our hotel, meet Zach. Because real quick too, Zach was a big part of this week as far as the success goes.
I knew I was missing something. Yeah.
In fact, it was one of those things where, because he's come down and helped us before, but we kind of clipped his wings this time a little bit. And so real quick on this, I don't want to digress much because I know we're about to wrap and I talk a lot, but just bear with me. But I just feel like, what's up, Natalie? All right. I didn't know our pork chop partner was going to be on here. So one of the, we were, Jesse and I were meeting Sunday night. We always do before every class. We just come together and we just say, hey, let's make sure tomorrow is locked. We'll figure out Tuesday on Monday. It's kind of how I operate, as a low systematic, but we just make sure Monday is going to be ready. And so we were going through everything, and we knew we were going to be working with Zach. We knew we were going to give him his own group, but we also knew he was going to be teaching classes. And so Jesse's going over the agenda, and he was like, hey man, like you gave Zach like the most important class of the week in active listening. Like it sets the foundation for the whole week. And I was like, yeah, I know. And I told him, I said, it's already printed, that the agendas are out, but I'm also struggling with it myself. But I said, but it's important that we start like letting some of this go, because like, make no mistake about it, one of our goals is to scale. Like we want to do what we do on a larger scale. And so part of that is going to be growing our team. There's talks again of like developing a SolutionPoint Plus Academy and bringing people under our wing to give them our content, teach them our way. And even that is only so effective. I mean, again, people aren't, you aren't able to replicate people. But if we can get them close to think like we do and teach like we do and all that. So anyway, he was someone that I think we were lucky to get to be on our team. I think he's a big part of why we got to be here at this time. And so he's actually going to be with us next week as well, teaching some classes, taking his own group, helping with the role plays. And so while it's hard to like let pieces of your like baby go, I also think it's important for us to start getting used to the idea that we can't always be the ones doing all the things. And so I'm grateful to Zach for being part of the team and helping us out.
Yeah, and he did so many other things like photography, video work, lighting, and I mean he was our technical guy for the whole week, and he's already working on the product. So, but he's at a wedding now, having fun. So we'll see him on Monday. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Oh, Doris, thank you so much. You're right.
All right, brother. You want to close them out with anything, man?
No, I just I got an interesting phone call from somebody I don't normally speak to on the phone, but they are a police officer. And because they called, I assumed that it was something that was highly important. And they also left a voicemail in this particular way that made me believe it was unfinished business from where I used to work. Um, hey, man, thank you. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
That's one of our
And
guys from this week.
yeah, yeah. And I called them back. And even though I never spoke to him on the phone, I had a few conversations with him in person, but we never spoke on the phone and we never really talked about what we do. Um, I was indirectly lectured as to the amount of risk Joe Small and I have taken and how he would never make such a move and why it was so dangerous and why it would could be perceived as almost selfish and foolish. And while he would never make that move, he just wanted to call and wish us the best. Or he hopes that we made the right choice. It was a very, very interesting phone call. So I want to say um, I am very blessed to be on this experience. I'm very blessed to be living this experience with my best friend. And contrary to that phone call and that perception, it didn't affect me at all. At all. Like once upon a time, I think it would have. It would have reinforced fear. But as I was enjoying a very fine, bizarrely fine Mexican restaurant in Iowa, which doesn't happen for me, but I stand corrected. Very fine Mexican restaurant. I looked over at my friend and I said, "We're living the dream, man. The stuff that we've been talking about for the past few years is happening, and we're in the middle of it, and we're experiencing it." So I am thankful and extremely grateful to be living this life with my best friend and brother. And thanks you guys for watching. Please subscribe, please share, please like. I know you probably think it's redundant, but we need you guys to. In order for us to grow our platform, to grow awareness, to help you do the work, we need you guys. So all the shares, all the likes, all the subscriptions on all the platforms help us a lot, a lot. So please do. Joe.
Yeah, I'll just wrap with I think success is defined by the individual. And I think society has put this pressure on the idea of what success maybe is. But I think for me, while like, yeah, we're in the zone right now, things are going well. We know it's not always going to just come to us. And I know that there's probably going to be times where it's like, uh-oh, things are a little tight right now. And there's going to be stress and pressure. But Jesse and I have had these very honest conversations about like, there's certain things that are like non-negotiables. And I think our relationships are the thing that like we will never be willing to sacrifice to keep the business going. Like I don't want to lose what truly matters to pursue something that I think is very important. And while I believe in our ability and I believe that we will absolutely have a profound impact in the world, I know that there's going to be stressors and it's not always going to be this like quote unquote easy. Um, but here's the thing, success for me is, are you doing what you love so that you don't wake up and say, ugh, like I don't want to do this today. And there's so few people that are. And this isn't like an I told you so or like nini nini boo boo or like well easy for you to say now. But yeah, like we took those risks. Like we made those decisions. We put ourselves in a position to be able to do it. And now we're like, holy crap, man. Like there's no more schedule. There's no more paycheck. There's no more like benefits. There's no like we have to grind it out and do the work. And so to me, success is just doing what you love, finding your purpose, going out and like making things happen, and then just like the rest will take care of itself. So, oh, hold on real quick. I saw my BFF on here. Sergeant, safe travels. Keep up the great work. Bring your best to each and every class. You'll definitely be successful. Change the world. Thanks, Sarge. He's great. Hoping to be back there in a few weeks. We'll see how tomorrow's message goes with Justin, Pastor Hagler, in the Simple Church. But anyway,
if you are listeners and you are followers, and I'm not asking to convert anybody by any means or make them watch anything that they wouldn't believe in. But it'd be very beneficial to just go to the Simple Church's YouTube channel and watch tomorrow morning. It would surely benefit and help us. Please share those. Again, I'm not trying to convert anybody to any religion, but the message and what the work is going to be all about is us and keeping us thriving in that area. So please watch.
Yeah, the simplechurch.tv, I think, is their thing. So anyway, and then like always, if you're not a part of my community, join it. It's just it's a great way. You text it, and I can blast out just little inspos and pictures and all kinds of cool stuff. So if you're not part of the community, text me at this number. It is, to me, it's just a global platform. It's a form of social media. So anyway, if you're not there, get there. And we appreciate you all. We will see you a week from today. Don't know time, don't know topic, but we'll see you in a week. Take care.
Starbucks.
Yeah. Bye-bye, y'all.